Welcome to another deep dive, and this time we're going to explore something that's happening all around us constantly, even though we might not always see it.
Yeah, it's easy to forget about the processes that are essential for life.
Exactly. And today we're focusing on something pretty crucial,
Yeah.
photosynthesis. I've got some fascinating excerpts here about the science behind it, its role in ecosystems, and even its connection to things like fossil fuels and climate change.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. Photosynthesis is often just a small part of biology lessons, but its impact is huge.
Right. It's like we all learned about it in school, but then we kind of just forget about how vital it is.
Yeah, well, hopefully today we can bring it back to the forefront and really dive deep into all its complexities.
Definitely. So to start off, I was kind of blown away when I realized just how fundamental photosynthesis is as an energy source. It's like the engine driving almost all life on Earth.
It really is. It's the ultimate form of solar power. We talk about solar panels and renewable energy, but plants have been doing it for millions of years, way more efficiently than anything we've come up with.
Yeah, they're the pros. So how does it actually work? I remember something about chloroplasts and sunlight.
Okay, so plants have these specialized structures inside their cells called chloroplasts. Think of them as tiny solar power stations. These chloroplasts contain a pigment called chlorophyll, which is what gives plants their green color.
Okay, I remember that.
Right, and chlorophyll is like the key to the whole process because it can capture light energy from the sun. Those little packets of light energy are called photons.
Photons, got it.
So when chlorophyll absorbs these photons, it sets off a chain reaction, like a cascade of energy. And this
Okay.
energy is used to split water molecules.
Split water
Yeah,
molecules.
that's a key part of the process. And when water is split, it releases oxygen. That's where the oxygen we breathe comes from.
Wow, so every breath we take is thanks to photosynthesis. That's incredible.
Exactly. Photosynthesis is what keeps our atmosphere oxygenated and allows us to breathe.
That's pretty amazing. But I'm also curious about the carbon dioxide part of the equation. How does that fit in?
Well, along with splitting water, photosynthesis also uses that light energy to convert carbon dioxide from the atmosphere into glucose.
Glucose, like sugar.
Yes, glucose is a simple sugar, and it's the primary form of energy that plants use. But it's also incredibly versatile. Plants can use glucose to build all sorts of other molecules, like complex carbohydrates for structure, lipids for energy storage, and even proteins for carrying out various functions.
Hold on. So plants are essentially taking carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas,
Mhm.
and turning it into the building blocks of life.
Exactly. They're like little carbon capturing machines helping to regulate our climate and provide us with food and oxygen in the process. It's a pretty amazing system.
Yeah, it really is. And it makes you realize how interconnected everything is. We rely on plants for so much, and they rely on this process of photosynthesis to function.
And not only do we rely on them directly for food and oxygen, but also indirectly for things like fossil fuels.
Right. That was one of the things that blew my mind when I was researching this. Fossil fuels are basically ancient sunlight, right?
They are. The fossil fuels we burn today, coal, oil, and natural gas, are actually the remnants of ancient photosynthetic organisms that lived millions of years ago.
So that energy from the sun, captured by those organisms through photosynthesis, was stored away and over time, under intense heat and pressure, transformed into these concentrated forms of energy we use today.
It's pretty mind-boggling when you think about it. The energy that powers our cars, heats our homes, and even runs our electronic devices all ultimately comes from the sun via photosynthesis.
It puts things in a whole new perspective. We talk about renewable energy and finding alternatives to fossil fuels, but ultimately we need to find ways to harness the power of the sun just like plants do.
Absolutely. Photosynthesis is the ultimate model for sustainable energy production.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, let's go back to the ecosystem aspect for a second. We talked about how plants are the primary producers, the base of the food chain. Can you elaborate on that a bit more? How does photosynthesis impact the overall balance of an ecosystem?
Sure. Well, as we've discussed, photosynthetic organisms like plants and algae are the only ones that can capture light energy and convert it into a form that other organisms can use. So they're the foundation of almost every food web.
So herbivores eat the plants, carnivores eat the herbivores, and so on.
Exactly. And that flow of energy originating from photosynthesis sustains the entire ecosystem. But it's not just about energy. Photosynthesis also plays a crucial role in regulating the balance of gases in the atmosphere, as we discussed earlier.
Right, the oxygen production and carbon dioxide absorption.
Exactly. So photosynthesis is really at the heart of maintaining a stable and healthy planet. It provides us with the air we breathe, the food we eat, and even the fuel we use. And it helps to regulate our climate and support biodiversity.
It's incredible to think about the impact of this one process. Every breath we take, every meal we eat, even the energy that powers our world, it all goes back to photosynthesis.
It really makes you appreciate the natural world in a whole new way.
It does, and I think it also highlights the importance of protecting our ecosystems and finding ways to live more sustainably.
I completely agree. We need to learn from nature and find ways to mimic its efficiency and sustainability.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've learned how photosynthesis works, its role in providing energy and oxygen, its connection to climate change, and its impact on ecosystems, and even the formation of fossil fuels.
It's a truly fascinating process, and hopefully our deep dive has shed some light on its importance.
I hope so too. And for our listeners out there, here's something to ponder. If deforestation continues at its current rate, how might that impact the Earth's ability to regulate carbon dioxide levels through photosynthesis? And what are the potential consequences for our planet's climate? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into photosynthesis.